Welcome back! Today, we are going to continue to focus on the role that you play as your partner embarks on her return to work. For a moment, we're going to talk facts and figures. 98% of women want to return to work after having a baby, but only 13% think it's a viable option. 80% of working mothers in the UK have trouble returning to work, and the challenges include a lack of employer support. 30% report receiving little to no support upon their return. Workplace discrimination. 16% report having faced or experienced discrimination. Career progression. Managerial roles reduced by up to 30% after women have children, whilst administrative roles increased. Most alarmingly of all, it takes almost a decade for women to return to their pre-maternity salaries and status levels. So let's be clear. We want to support our partners, but are we doing enough? Are we defending their position and standing up for their right to be equal? It goes back to this term, allyship. There is plenty of conversation online about male allyship, but are you really fighting for equality? This woman just had your child. She's raised them, and whilst I'm sure you've taken an active role in their early development, she's made the sacrifice. It's her career that has suffered in the short term, but it's clear that the struggle is just beginning. Now, it's difficult to support beyond the four walls of the home, but that's why awareness of the issues she's going to face is so important to you. It's important to you both navigating this critical time as one. This isn't just a mum issue, it's a family issue, and it's a dad issue. We cannot support if we don't have access to resources at home and in the workplace. Diversity and inclusion councils have overlooked the importance of the family unit, and employers downplay the importance of their role in protecting the family through this time of massive upheaval. Preoccupied with other topics, they fundamentally miss the importance of the modern working parent. Yes, initiatives like shared parental leave are available, but they are clearly not signposted, and there is insufficient education or resources on the impact of that leave. It was available to me, but it wasn't a conversation that we had. Do I regret not taking more time off? Do I think it would have harmed my career had I taken more time? Sadly, I think the answer is yes. I never wanted to impose myself on her motherhood journey. My wife was very much ready to be mum, and she focused on being mum. She'd always wanted to be a mum, and she was prepared to make the sacrifice for our boys and for our family. It wasn't for my benefit. Financially, she is the major contributor to the stability of our family, and she put our family first. This is why this topic is so important. Real life experience of maternity, paternity, and shared parental leave is rarely played back or championed. We grit our teeth, get on with it, and hope our employers are going to support our choices. Despite the efforts of many great advocates, we're still no further along in finding the balance that creates equality without leaving mum feeling conflicted about her dual role. We need policies to protect and champion working mothers, and we need to better educate employers, policymakers, and employees on the impact of modern parenthood. To be a true ally, you must first understand the trial by fire that many working women returning from maternity leave go through. Today, we're focusing on those that do. But remember, there is a high percentage of women who don't have that choice. And I'm sure you'll agree, there is an even higher percentage of men who just don't get the challenges that she faces. We don't see it. It's not something we're alive to, and so we don't see the strain that it puts on those we love, or even those that we work alongside. Right, so she's got the chance to return to work. She's taking that chance and getting after it. This, my friend, is where the subtle bullshit she's about to face comes from every angle. Remember, we're talking about a woman who's giving your baby every ounce of her strength. She's developed this phenomenal bond with this tiny human, and it's something you're in awe of. And at times, you're going to be a little jealous, but that's okay. Today isn't just about what to expect. It's about listening and juggling the demands of baby, your role and career, and her return to work. So today, we're going to cover what to expect on her return, the emotional challenges and conflicting emotions that she's going to face, societal pressures and biases, and the perception of working mum. So let's start with what to expect on her return. To be clear, most employers are not geared up to support her return. The typical HR policy will cover maternity leave, but does it go much further? The simple answer is no. During this period of upheaval, you should expect very little from them. Your partner will dive back into work, get her head down, and try to make up for lost time. In most cases, she returns to work like nothing happened, and she's expected to carry on like nothing happened. For me, the issue firmly rests at the feet of the employer. Their policy covers her entitlement, but not much else. And that is why you've got to encourage her to initiate open and early communication with them. She must be prepared to have an open dialogue during any meeting, because in most back to work meetings or performance related meetings, the personal challenges she might be facing early on are likely to be overlooked. There are plenty of barriers to her being more open about your home life, and I know that for many, work and personal life are two separate things. However, when work interferes with the harmony of the family and vice versa, these two things become one distinct issue, one that you cannot ignore. You need to encourage her to keep that dialogue going and talk to her about forcing the issue if she doesn't feel heard. She must be prepared to keep her employer honest and, importantly, her leader too. If the employer has strong policies, the gap will likely lie with the leader having little insight or understanding of the key issues facing a modern man. Employers talk a good game, but good policies have got to be accompanied by strong resources, education, and a lead by example mentality and culture. Your role, my friend, is simple. Champion her, celebrate her contribution, and stand shoulder to shoulder with her. You need to be more in tune to the challenges, and you must keep your ears open for anything that feels off. If she chooses not to blur the lines, she may become vulnerable to criticism if her ability to deliver is ever impacted. By prompting early conversations, she can document them and follow up should there be any issues or challenges while she's adapting to the early pressures of juggling both. As her partner, remind her that she should, where possible, be open and honest. She doesn't have to go into all the detail, but she can signpost things that have changed and that she's currently juggling. Engaging in conversation might facilitate a more understanding environment, and it might even present her with the opportunity to discuss a flexible working arrangement or alternative work schedule to alleviate some of this pressure. In my view, the employer now is on probation. Their commitment to their employee is going to be tested, and should they fail to step up and offer the right level of support, then expect your partner to feel ignored, disillusioned, and ultimately ready for something new. Now, there's going to be loads of challenges at home, and this is what you need to look out for that first day she walks into work. You're both going to be struggling, and you're both going to be searching for this balance. In this early phase, my role as a husband and a partner is not only to support her emotionally, but to do so practically. Teamwork plays an important part in managing the challenges she faces. Your role is to actively listen and try to understand the relentless nature of balancing her responsibilities as a working mother. You'll need to be on hand and ready to jump right in and support from the off. The reality is you'll have both been at work all day and you'll still need to pick the kids up, feed them, bathe them, nail that bedtime routine, wrap any work up that might be hanging over you, and finally collapse on the sofa before you both pass out. Be aware that she will be mentally and physically exhausted. So where you can, split the responsibilities and focus on making sure you get the basics done. Remember, she's going to feel under pressure to live up to higher expectations and be superwoman and supermum. Have it all under control, even when she's had a shocker. Get it all done and still have time to decompress. Just remember to be on hand and encourage her from the off. As she returns to work, she will want some independence back. So encourage her where you can to meet her friends and socialise, as it will help her stay connected, happy, and importantly, confident. One thing to think about is how you will manage to find the balance needed to give fatherhood, your partner, and your job the attention they all deserve. I'm afraid there is no magic bullet here. All take hard work, all demand your time. At times, one will take priority over the other. And your role is to understand the cost of prioritising the demands of your career against the needs of your partner and the needs of your family. Whilst that might seem like an obvious statement to make, in practice, the demands of others can distract you from your most important role. Balance. There's something we all search for, but many rarely find it. We work hard at it. We found at times there is balance, but most of the time, we're just making sure the things that need to be done are done. The magic is understanding what's important both to you and her, and focusing on the things that have the greatest impact on you, her, and the kids. Look, my advice here is super simple. Your will to put everyone first is a selfless act, but will result in you burning out. The art in finding any sense of balance and keeping it is open dialogue, transparency, and a list of things that you both need to focus on. Though this is going to be a period of transition, will require patience, communication, and an eye on the detail. That first day back is going to be hard, but once the dust settles, balancing it all can be relentless, and the energy needed to do it all can leave you both exhausted and even distanced from one another. The biggest obstacle standing in the way of your collective success will be how you adapt to the stress and the strain of managing both home and work. The key is finding balance, but look, it's not going to be easy. In fact, at times, it's almost impossible. So if you've got a clear understanding of the impact that her new routine is going to have, you understand the pressure that she's going to face, you recognise when that pressure is getting too much, you can let some steam off, go off and decompress, whatever that might be. But also, you've got to remember that you're a team. You will need to take on extra responsibility, but you're also going to need to let off some steam too. You are going to need time to decompress. You're going to move from activity to activity, and so is she. Next up is the emotional challenges and the conflicting emotions that she is going to face. The way that she's welcomed back into the fold at work is going to have a massive impact on her emotional well-being, her positivity, her confidence, and her resilience. It's going to set the tone for her first few weeks. And if the approach taken by her employer is poor, then expect her to feel undervalued and expect the internal conflict she feels about returning to work to chip away at her enthusiasm and her energy. You've got to remember that she's starting over, and in some cases, it will feel like this is a clean slate and that everything she had achieved before baby has been forgotten. You've got to sympathise with this situation. She's starting her role all over again. Any number of things could have happened during her absence, and it's her that will suffer firsthand. But as she's overlooked and even ignored, that stress will find its way into your home. So be alive to the pressure, the expectation she has for herself and her performance, and be ready for her employer to make a mistake. Employers often ignore the value of their returning employee. And if your partner is ignored or sidelined in those initial interactions at work, you can expect it to have a massive impact on her mood and her general sense of well-being and confidence. In those early days, she needs her confidence and self-belief to reassert herself as an asset to that business. You need to be switched on to the emotional pressure and aware of the challenges on the horizon. You need to assess early whether or not she's being welcomed back, or whether she's just being treated as another returning mother, one expected to go back off on maternity leave at some point in the future. It is crucial that you talk to her daily about her interactions with the leaders and colleagues in that business, and understand if she's being overlooked. I cannot make this point any clearer. You cannot be passive here. She needs your support, awareness, and empathy. If her leader overlooks her importance or fails to connect early enough in the return to work process, then you've got to question the value that individual places on your partner's contribution and return to that business. That limited value assigned, I'm afraid, is going to destroy her confidence, and it's going to do so quickly. So be alive to the issue and talk to her about the importance of starting a dialogue with her boss to ensure she's not ignored. Ultimately, she contributed to the business before she had your baby, and she's capable of contributing now. And her past performance must count for something. Your role as her partner is to listen and acknowledge her feelings. You must validate them and make space for her to express her true feelings without that fear of judgment. Your objective is simple. Offer unwavering support and be the cornerstone for her successful approach to these challenges. My friends, these challenges will come thick and fast. They will be unrelenting, and some of the challenges will be things you just didn't see coming. The best thing we can do is prepare for those difficult conversations and reinforce the fact that she is capable of performing her role at the level that she was known for. Your role is to see the challenges and anticipate them. But to do so, you must actively listen to the problem faced. One key lesson I learned was that my role in a conversation wasn't just to listen, but to diffuse the anger and frustration so that as a team, we could focus on the solution. Too often, we get stuck in the weeds and lose sight of what it is that we're trying to achieve. She needs you to listen and recognise when someone has overstepped, criticised, or downplayed her role and impact. But she also needs you to point out where the solution may lie. Be attuned to her emotional state, offering a listening ear and acknowledging the validity of those feelings. These emotional challenges are characteristic of the process of returning to work post-maternity leave. She will experience conflicting emotions such as guilt, anxiety, and the desire to excel both at work and as a parent, all of which can create this complex emotional landscape that she has to find her way through. Understanding and validating the emotions becomes crucial to her success in navigating the role. Your role is to be that supportive partner. Now let's take a look at the societal pressures and biases. Now, returning to work as a new mother often comes with both. There's going to be expectations, both explicit and implicit, about a mother's ability to balance work and family life. It is essential to recognise these pressures and biases because they can contribute to the feelings of guilt, inadequacy, or the perception that she is being judged. Now, I'm going to share something really raw with you, something that really gets my blood boiling. My partner and I had long been debating about the impact of our work and our stress levels at home and around the kids. My partner works a condensed working pattern. That means she's working 5 days in 4. And as part of her role, she has to achieve certain targets and they have to be met. We'd agreed that the condensed pattern gave her the chance to spend 1 day with our youngest. And this was something we thought was important for both her and for him. However, the cost of this pattern meant she was often working late into the evening to catch up. A sacrifice worth making? I think so. But it comes with a lot of challenges, some of which we handled, and some of which were more difficult to overcome. This working arrangement was never questioned. Her employer got what they needed, and she had always performed at a high level, but it was beginning to take its toll. So we decided to do something different, and we reduced her working hours. This, we thought, would give her some time back, and initially it did. We wanted to give it at least 6 months, but the result was a reduction in salary, but no reduction in workload. Given it was a temporary change, we agreed that it wasn't working. There was clear evidence that she'd outperformed members of her team over that 6-month period, and she made this clear to her employer. But their initial response totally missed the point. The response: but aren't you getting more time back to spend with your family? The arrangement had her working harder for less. And this was no longer about spending time with our youngest. This is about being paid for the hours that she'd worked. And her boss didn't see the financial cost. All he saw was that she'd spent more time with her son. The problem was that she'd been doing this already. Her performance hadn't dropped, but she was now simply getting paid less money. His view was that she got the balance she wanted. Her argument was that compared to her peer group, even on a lower number of hours, she was still doing more. At this point, she was being penalised for being a mother because she'd chosen to find some balance and sacrifice a percentage of her salary. But when it came to seeking equality, the point on salary was ignored. Eventually, she got the working arrangement back. But the point is, as a working mother, trying to find balance, should she be penalised if she's over-delivering? The business that she works for at a corporate level presents a united front with those that are having children, and they've even increased paternity and maternity entitlement beyond the norm. However, employers need to recognise that it isn't just about policies. The education within the business of both male and female employees on the pressures of motherhood is a critical yet overlooked piece of this jigsaw. There will always be bias in the workplace, and as partners, we've got to understand that she's going to face many, many challenges, some seen and heard, and others that go unnoticed and unchecked. Your job is to again have her back, create a space and an environment for her to talk to you about these challenges and to talk to you about the things that erode her position as a working mum. Businesses can learn and adapt, but if the education and the engagement of those in the office and within the business isn't strong enough, then working mothers will always lose out. When we talk about addressing bias in the workplace, culture is everything. But it doesn't matter if her employer has great policies. If the culture is wrong, then the policies and how they are positioned mean very little. It is going to be evident early on whether her employer is engaged. If her employer is committed to promoting a culture of understanding and empathy, then expect her to get the support she needs. However, if her leader isn't engaged with the values of the business, then it can lead to her feeling disillusioned, and in some cases, she might feel like a spare part or even an outsider. And one common bias faced by working mothers is the perception that she's going to be less committed or less capable due to her caregiving responsibilities. Or simply put, she is choosing, in the eyes of her employer, to put family first. Look, in a prior leadership role, I overlooked the impact of childcare on a mother's ability to return to work full-time. And consequently, I ignored the contributions a colleague had in that business before her decision to have a family. This approach left her feeling isolated, and it devalued her overall contribution to the role on her return. I wasn't a parent at the time and didn't recognise that other factors were at play preventing her from returning to work full-time. Whilst I didn't directly stop her from progressing, it wasn't until I had a family of my own that I really appreciated the struggle and strain that some new parents go through, both mentally and physically. Perception plays a big part in overlooking valued employees. Our opinions, whether based on fact or hearsay, can have a massive impact on the advancement of someone's career. As a husband, I've seen and heard things that would be best placed within a HR meeting. It doesn't matter how senior or junior the employee, what position they hold. Employers must actively challenge assumptions and ensure that decisions regarding promotions, assignments and opportunities are based on merit rather than stereotypes. Bias can only really be addressed in the workplace through regular training and open forum conversation. Whilst there have been advancements in gender equality, biases and stereotypes can persist, particularly towards working mothers. Unconscious bias training can be a valuable tool in addressing these biases, but diversifying the subject matter and exploring lived examples can facilitate better conversations and ultimately more engaged employees. Awareness and culture start at the top and should disseminate down through the extended leadership team. One of the key factors in the success of a family-focused culture is engaging working dads, engaging working partners and bringing their personal insights about mothers returning to work to life. Some of the easy to spot biases that she may experience are the assumption that she will prioritise her family over her career, that she will be mentally and physically exhausted and it will impact her performance. She is likely to have another baby and therefore will take more time off in the future. That she will be responsible for the childcare and therefore cannot return full time. That these assumptions are going to result in her being excluded during a time when it's important to integrate her back into the workforce. One of the biggest obstacles my partner experienced was very much because she was still young enough to have more kids. And therefore, even the female lead in her business questioned indirectly whether she was back for good or whether she intended to have more kids, wanted to spend more time with her family. Your role is to help her navigate these biases and ensure that they do not impact her confidence. She will grow frustrated quickly if her employer overlooks the importance of this phase, and that will lead her to question her value within that business. A working mum does not have to disclose her intentions or discuss her career and family plans with her leader. We are making progress addressing equality, bias and gender-based stereotypes, but businesses, you've still got a long way to go. The early actions of her employer will make or break that working relationship. And that's why it's critical that they show a willingness to help onboard her following her maternity and train both working mums, leaders and colleagues on the realities of today's working mum. You will need to work together to understand the policies in play and the business's commitment to working parents. A failure to address these biases creates a barrier to working families and an obstacle to your partner's career progression. We focus on diversity and inclusion, but as a society, we often overlook the importance of a strong, stable family environment. And whilst the responsibility of the cohesiveness rests on the mother and father, the financial pressure of having children and the obstacles preventing mums returning to work full time, or even at all, are having an impact on that family dynamic. Her inability to fulfill her need to succeed and contribute puts her confidence at risk. As she returns to work, she should have a clear understanding of the policies, the impact on her salary if deciding to take on a more flexible role, and of course fully understand the costs associated with her childcare arrangements. Her employer, whilst expected to have some understanding of the impact of flexible working, will likely not be educated on the realities of working flexibility and the impact it can have on a person's health and general well-being. As a parent who works remotely, life can be incredibly isolating, and whilst there are lots of benefits to flexible work, it is critical that your partner and her employer have a clear understanding of the positives and negatives of such arrangements. Her employer should understand and be working to address the gender pay gap, promotion rates and opportunities available to working mums to ensure that the working mum is not disadvantaged in the pursuit of her career goals. As her partner and supporter, you will both want evidence of clear objectives, route to progression and regular, actionable career conversations, which should help reduce the impact of biases that may hinder her career progression. Look, supporting working mothers is not only the right thing to do from a human perspective, but it also makes great business sense. By harnessing the talents and perspective of working mothers, organisations gain that competitive edge, enhance innovation, and foster a more inclusive and productive work environment. Your role as her partner is not just to acknowledge these challenges, but to actively participate in addressing them. By fostering open communication, providing emotional support, actively engaging in financial planning, challenging the biases, and advocating for diversity and inclusion, you contribute to creating a supportive environment that enables her to thrive both personally and professionally. As your partner prepares to return to work after maternity leave, the journey is laden with challenges, complexities, and societal biases that can impact her professional and personal life. Navigating this intricate path requires proactive engagement, clear communication, and a commitment to addressing the multifaceted aspects of her return. Understanding the nuances of employment policies is foundational. From maternity and parental leave policies to flexible working arrangements, a comprehensive grasp empowers both of you to make informed decisions. The financial implications, entitlements, and potential challenges have got to be explored, ensuring that your family's needs align with the policies in place. Encouraging your partner to actively engage in conversations about our return, expectations, and needed support establishes the foundation for successful reintegration. The significance of these dialogues extends beyond the practicalities. They shape the culture of understanding and empathy within her workplace. The return to work itself may not be as ceremonious as the maternity leave, and her employer might not be inherently geared to provide the necessary support. So encouraging open dialogues both at home and in the workplace ensures that personal challenges are never overlooked. Your active involvement is crucial in addressing these biases, supporting her emotional well-being, and fostering an environment that values the contribution of a working mother. The journey may be complex, but with understanding, communication, and mutual support, you can navigate it together, ensuring a successful and fulfilling return to work. If you take one thing away from this episode, champion your partner. Never overlook her contribution. Never underestimate the impact her career and her choice to return can have on her health, well-being, confidence, and happiness. Tune in to the challenges she's about to face, and help her build the resilience necessary to make the choices that are right for her and are right for your family. Look, I learned a lot from my own journey and setbacks, but these conversations have got to take place, and frankly, employers and the government have got to get behind working mums. They've got to better signpost the policies and the financial impact that maternity and childcare can have. But they also need to be educating from the top down that a mum returning to work isn't just a number, but she is someone who contributed before they went off and is likely, if they've been able to return to work, contribute now. As always, thank you so much for listening. This is Fatherhood in Focus, a Modern Fatherhood Club podcast. Let me take a moment to remind you that we have some fantastic resources on our website. So go to themodernfatherhoodclub.com. You can download a copy of our new ebooks, one that is very much focused on supporting working mothers, one that is focused on you maximising your paternity leave and your fatherhood story, and one that will help every parent understanding the challenges that come with parental burnout and how to recognise the signs and how to overcome those signs and have the impact that you want to have. This is Aidan, the founder of the Modern Fatherhood Club, and I'm excited, as always, to have had you listen to this episode. Thank you. I respect you. I appreciate what you do for your family. I understand the strain, the stress that you are under, and I recognise that in the moment of stress and strain, it can be isolating and overwhelming. You might not want to admit it, but there are moments when you question your ability to continue to do this, when the stress gets too much. So whenever you need help, reach out. The Modern Fatherhood Club has your back.